Hi, Taehyung lovers all around the world. Welcome back to Taehyung Lovers Worldwide channel, the channel that always stands at the very front line to spread the kindness, charisma, and global power of Kim Taehyung to every corner of the world. But today, pause for a moment. Take a 3-second breath. Don't scroll. Don't blink. Because in February 2026, what shook the global music industry was not a stadium concert fireworks explosion, nor was it a multi-million-dollar world tour announcement. It was a quiet conversation that shook harder than any stage ever could. Yes, you didn't hear that wrong. Amid the roaring industry that never sleeps, an interview with the members of Tomorrow X Together, or TXT, circulated widely and sparked intense discussion. They honestly and openly expressed their admiration for BTS, especially for Kim Taehyung. And this was not a formal compliment. This was not senior-junior small talk. This was an acknowledgment of standards, of influence, of a legacy that shapes a generation. Why does this matter? Why does a seemingly simple conversation make so many people uneasy? Is this a sign that the baton has truly been passed? Or is it proof that the standard set by Taehyung is simply too high to be touched? In this video, we will not only discuss facts and data, we will dissect the meaning behind every sentence, every gesture, and every acknowledgement that may have been underestimated all this time. Because behind the word inspiration lies a bigger story about the power of influence, about how one name could become a global compass. And believe me, by the end of this video, the way you see the dynamics of K-pop generations might never be the same again. So before we dive deeper, make sure you press the like button. Write your opinion in the comment section, because your voice matters. Subscribe right now, and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss the sharpest and most honest analysis from this channel. And don't forget, share this video so the world continues to see the kindness and extraordinary impact of Kim Taehyung. Because what we are discussing today is not just news. This is history being written, and you are witnessing it live. In February 2026, not a stadium fireworks explosion, not a multi-million-dollar world tour announcement, but a quiet conversation that shook harder than any stage. In the midst of the global music industry's relentless movement, the interview with the members of Tomorrow X Together, or TXT, spread widely and ignited heated discussions. They honestly and openly expressed their admiration for BTS, especially Kim Taehyung. Not merely a formal compliment between seniors and juniors, but an acknowledgement of standards, influence, and a legacy that shapes a generation. Inside a softly lit interview room, the camera captured more than young, ambitious faces. There was genuine respect and an awareness that they stand upon a foundation built years before. One TXT member mentioned that they often discuss following in the footsteps of another big hit group. The sentence sounded simple, but in a billion-dollar industry, where global IFPI reports continue to record significant growth in the South Korean market, that statement was a strategic declaration. Following BTS means following a global standard proven through Billboard Hot 100 achievements, international stadium tours, and worldwide chart dominance. Under BIGHIT music, the concept of family is not merely a marketing slogan. It is a tested ecosystem of mentorship. BTS began their journey in 2013 with limited resources. Yet within a decade, they transformed into a global cultural institution. TXT, who debuted in March 2019 with Crown, immediately set a record at the time for the fastest viewed K-pop debut music video, signaling that the baton was indeed passed with careful preparation. TXT members openly acknowledged receiving advice from their seniors, especially from Kim Taehyung, who is known not only for his distinctive vocal tone, but also for his artistic boldness and consistent work ethic. Kim Taehyung's influence extends beyond the stage. Each of his appearances in global fashion campaigns often directly impacts product sales, a phenomenon in the industry referred to as consumer conversion power. He is also known for broad artistic exploration, from solo projects to unique visual approaches in international magazine shoots. For TXT, who are building a global identity, a figure like Taehyung is concrete proof that success can coexist with strong personal character. This is where public psychology is stirred. Can the new generation surpass the standards set by BTS, or are those standards simply too high to compete with? TXT was born amid fierce fourth-generation K-pop competition alongside many major groups. Yet they chose to build an emotional and conceptual identity connected to the anxieties of the global youth. Their achievements speak clearly through sold-out world tours, high rankings on international charts, and prestigious awards. Even so, the strongest element is not those numbers, but their acknowledgement that their senior success is not a shadow that pressures them, but a light that illuminates their path. In an industry that is competitive and often pits fandoms against each other, such acknowledgement feels both brave and strategic. When BTS appeared on the cover of a renowned magazine with the bold statement, "BTS is back," any questions? It was not merely a headline, but a symbol of position. The generation after them grew with that standard as their compass. Generational transitions in the entertainment industry are often colored by sharp comparisons. Yet in this context, the narrative is different. TXT are not trying to tear down BTS standard. They acknowledge it as a foundation, and that is precisely where true strength is formed. We want to pass that on to our juniors as well, said a TXT member in the interview. That sentence now sounds like a cross-generational promise. Popularity is not the final goal, but a responsibility. Carrying the name of K-pop onto the world stage means maintaining quality, ethics, and artistic integrity. Legacy is not merely trophies or streaming numbers. It is a value that lives from one generation to the next. Yet the big question still lingers and may spark long debate. Is the fourth generation truly ready to carry such a symbolic burden? Will the global public accept them with the same standard? Or will comparisons to BTS always remain a permanent shadow? Some will say no one can replace BTS. Others believe every generation has its own heroes. Perhaps both are true. February 2026 now feels like a narrative turning point. A seemingly simple interview transformed into a symbol that K-pop is built not only on competition, but on continuity of values. When TXT step onto the world stage, they do not walk alone. They walk upon footsteps carved with hard work and global vision. And perhaps one day, the generation after them will mention TXT's name with the same respect as today they mention BTS and Kim Taehyung. The question is no longer who is bigger, but who can keep the flame of that legacy burning in an industry that never stops moving. And now, before we truly close this video, allow me to leave you with one question that may echo in your mind tonight. February 2026 proved that what shakes the world is not always the loudest sound, but the deepest meaning. Not stadium fireworks, not multi-million-dollar tours, but a quiet conversation from Tomorrow X Together honestly acknowledging the standards set by BTS, especially Kim Taehyung. That was not merely respect. It was an acknowledgement of legacy. And legacy is never born by coincidence. It is born from consistency, from character, from the courage to preserve identity when the world tries to change it. So when a new generation steps forward, the question is not who is bigger, but who can keep the flame burning. Maybe after this video, you'll see every interview, every stage, every word inspiration in a different way. Because history is not always written with cheers. Sometimes it is written with acknowledgement. Thank you for watching until the end. Taehyung lovers all around the world. If you feel this video open a new perspective, don't forget to write your opinion in the comments, because your voice matters. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next analysis that might be even more shocking than this one. And don't forget to share it so the world continues to see the kindness and extraordinary impact of Kim Taehyung. If you disagree, that's okay. You are free to skip. Taehyung Lovers channel never forces anyone, because here we don't chase sensation. We protect values. And believe me, this story is not over yet.